Hi, welcome to Gorman Heritage Farm. My name's Nicole. We're really excited to have you today for a field trip here in Southwest Ohio, just near Cincinnati. Ohio has a long history of farming, starting with the Native Americans, who grew corn, beans, squash, and sunflowers right here on this land. In the 19th century, when Europeans came to the United States, they valued the soil and abundant water here in Ohio for farming. The history of Gorman Heritage Farm goes all the way back to 1835. That's when the Brown family immigrated from Scotland. They purchased this land and they started a farm. They even built this barn that we're in today. The Brown family passed their small family farm down through the generations. One of the Brown daughters married a Gorman. So instead of the Brown family farm, it became the Gorman family farm. And it stayed in the family for over 160 years. In the 1990s, this was Jim and Dorothy Gorman's farm, and they were offered millions of dollars from a developer who wanted to build houses here on their land. And they turned it down. They turned down the money and they donated their farm instead to the community. Today, most children do not grow up on family farms. So it's really important that there's a place where they can come if they come for a field trip, if they come for summer camp, if they come for a visit with their family. They can come here and learn where food comes from. They can learn the history of farming. They can learn about sustainable food production right here on Gorman Heritage Farm. One of the important parts of sustainable food production is having healthy soil. And today, you're going to visit parts of the farm and learn about how food is grown and the importance of that soil. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Kelly. She's going to take you around the farm today.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, friends. I am so excited to show you around our farm today. We are going to be visiting different areas of our farm while we learn about how food is grown. And I love what Nicole said about the importance of healthy soil. It's important to remember while we're visiting these areas of our farm that everything on a farm starts with the soil. We are going to head out to the garden so that we can look at compost and plant a seed. Are you all ready? Okay, let's go.
Hi farm friends, my name is Julia and I am a farm educator here at Gorman Heritage Farm. Today I'm going to be talking to you about soil and composting. Healthy, happy, alive soil is what helps to grow high quality fruits and vegetables here on the farm. The best way to get high quality soil is through composting. Some of you might know what composting is, but I'm going to use a couple of big words to define it and then we'll talk about what those words mean. Composting is the controlled decomposition of organic material. Controlled meaning human guidance, so humans are helping guide this process. Decomposition meaning decaying or breaking down. And organic material meaning stuff from the earth. So composting is a process that's happening all around us, and it's the breakdown of natural materials. To make a high quality compost pile, you need nitrogen, carbon, air, and water. Nitrogenous materials, or materials that have nitrogen, are our food scraps. Think about cooking a meal in your kitchen. The carrot tops that might not sound too tasty, the onion peels that aren't edible, or even those strawberry tops that aren't tasty either. All of these have tons of nutrients in them to make good compost. The other material that we need is carbon, or carbonous material. Carbonous material is also something that's all around us. Wood chips, dead leaves, those grass clippings from when you mow the lawn. Mixing those with our food scraps and adding in a little bit of air and water help us grow amazing vegetables. So how does all of this compost break down? We have chunky food scraps and chunky wood chips. How does it turn into amazing, soft, sifted soil to grow vegetables? Well, with the help of microorganisms and fungi and bacteria and also worms, this is how the material breaks down. You heard me, worms. There are two species of worms called night crawlers and red wigglers that are so hungry. When we put them in our compost piles, they munch on all of those food scraps and material and they poop it out. Their poop is called worm castings, and their worm castings have a ton of nutrients for growing high-quality vegetables. Worms also swim through the compost pile. They create tunnels in the pile which aerate it. So in addition to nitrogen and carbon, we also have air and water to help turn this into lovely compost. Why is composting so important? Composting is important because food scraps have so much nutrients and energy in them. When we put this in our trash can in our kitchen and it's taken away to the landfill, all of that goes to waste. When it's composted, we instead divert that energy back into the earth. Composting is also important because it allows us to return these materials that came from the earth back to the earth. My favorite motto about composting is that if it comes from the earth, you can put it back. I know that composting sounds so cool and so exciting, and you're probably wondering how you can participate and you can do it at home. There's a couple of ways that you can start composting in your very own kitchen. One of those is by just seeing if your local neighborhood has any services that can pick up your food scraps for you. Another way is by getting a worm bin for your house. You can get a worm bin and feed all of those worms those food scraps. A third way that you can start composting at home, if you have a backyard, is to start throwing those food scraps in a pile with some wood chips, maybe get some neighbors and some friends to join in and start turning that pile. It's a really easy way to help the planet and feel like you're getting your hands dirty and doing something exciting. Why are we talking about composting on a farm? Farmers need to grow fruits and vegetables. As Kelly mentioned earlier, soil is the life force of a farm. So now we have this nutrient-dense, finished and sifted compost, and we're going to use it to plant some seeds. Here with me, I have some lima bean seeds. We're going to dig ourselves a trench and lay these seeds a couple inches apart from each other and cover it up with that beautiful, soft compost. In a few days or a few weeks, those will germinate and start sprouting. Food growers need high-quality soil to make these amazing vegetables. Compost has such potential, and so there's no better place to do it than on a farm.
Welcome to the hen house. This is where the Gorman family kept their chickens and where we keep our egg-laying chickens today. There are two types of food that we can get from chickens on a farm. One of them is meat. The other one is eggs. Back in the day, the chickens that people ate were just old egg-laying hens that got too old to produce eggs anymore. But today, we have different breeds of chickens that we raise for meat versus the chickens that we raise for egg production. Here on our farm, we have lots of different breeds of chickens, and sometimes different breeds of chickens lay different colors of eggs. Our chickens lay their eggs in these nesting boxes. I'm going to open one of these boxes and see if our chickens have laid any eggs today. Oh, look! There's a chicken in this box right now. I wonder if she has any eggs underneath her. I'm just going to gently lift her up and check underneath. Oh, look at that. She has a lot of eggs underneath her. These eggs are very warm because this chicken has been sitting on them. I also noticed that these eggs are two different colors. So some of our chickens here on the farm lay brown eggs, some lay blue eggs, and some even lay white eggs. I'm going to put these back under here. And close up the box. Our farmers will come back later today to collect the eggs. We collect our eggs 2 times a day, one time in the morning and one time in the afternoon. You might be wondering, is there a baby chicken inside of this egg? Well, these eggs are actually food eggs. This is one of our laying hens. Her name is Clarissa. She has some very interesting body parts that we can learn about. Here on the top of her head, she has a body part called her comb. When we get really hot, our bodies sweat to help cool us down, but chickens can't sweat. So that comb sits on the top of her head and it is full of blood vessels. That's what makes it red. And that comb helps to cool her body down when it gets hot. It kind of blows in the wind. This thing underneath her chin does the same thing, but it's got a different name. It's got kind of a fun name to say. It's called her wattle. If you look at her body, you can see that it is covered in feathers. That's because chickens are a bird, and all birds are covered in feathers. Her feathers serve different purposes for her. Some of them help to keep her dry. So her top feathers, they let the rain fall off of her body and keep her dry. Underneath her top feathers, she has her soft, fluffy down feathers. That's what helps to keep her warm. And if we take a look at her wing, you can see that she has these long flight feathers. Chickens can fly just a little bit. They use their wings to help get them up into the nest boxes where they lay their eggs. She also has some pretty cool looking feet. I think her feet kind of look like a dinosaur's feet. That's because chickens are the closest living relative to the T-Rex. On the ends of her feet, she has some pretty long claws. They kind of look sharp, but they're not that sharp. And they are really good for digging into the ground. Our chickens eat feed that's made up of ground corn and other grains. But chickens also like to eat insects and worms, and they use those claws to dig into the ground to uncover those things. While they are doing that, they are affecting the soil. When they are scratching at the ground, they are taking out surface weeds and tilling the soil and making it nice and loose and fluffy. Their droppings also do something to the soil. Their droppings contain nutrients that plants need to grow, like nitrogen and phosphorus. So our chickens have an impact on the soil of our farm too. Now we're going to head out to our market garden, where our gardener, Jason, is going to teach us about harvesting.
Hi farm friends, I'm Jason and I'm the vegetable gardener here at Gorman Heritage Farm, and I'm really excited to share with you one of my favorite crops to grow and to eat, the sweet potato. Sweet potatoes are delicious, which means they're good to eat as French fries, baked into pies, or even as taco filling. They're nutritious, which means they're good for our bodies. They're high in vitamins, minerals, especially vitamin A, which is good for our eyesight and good for our immune system. Now, finally, the best part, they're easy to grow. Sweet potatoes are actually modified roots that grow in the ground. And in fact, we call them tubers. If you look closely, they kind of look like, well, a tube. And in this case, it's a tube of minerals and nutrients and water for the plant to use, and more importantly, for the next generation of plants to use. We plant our sweet potatoes as a patch here. You can see it's a low-growing, ground-covering vine that looks like this. We grow our sweet potatoes from little tiny cuttings that we actually grow from the potatoes themselves. We cut them in half, we put toothpicks all around, and we place the bottom part in a cup of water and outgrow new shoots. And that's what we plant here in the soil, every 12 inches apart. Now in September, this is when it comes time to harvest. We planted these way back in the beginning of June. Sweet potatoes love hot weather, so the summer is the perfect time to grow them. They take anywhere from 90 to 170 days to fully mature. What's great about sweet potatoes too, they store right in the ground. So we're going to harvest some now and continue harvesting all the way to the first frost, which makes them a really useful crop, and it's one of my favorites. Let me show you how we get them out of the ground. First thing I've got to do is cut back these vines. Now, I wanted to add, not only are the tubers, the roots edible, so are the leaves, which makes this an even more useful crop in your garden. The leaves are actually very similar to spinach and can be used in the same way. Not bad. The first thing I do is get rid of all those leaves, pull the vines back and cut them from the tops where they're growing out of the ground. The next step then is to use the digging fork, which is also sometimes called a potato fork for this reason. I've used that to loosen and remove the top layer of soil. So I'm going to show you now the final step, which is bringing it out of the ground, and then I'll talk a little bit about what happens next before it gets to your kitchen. So here we go. So before we put our fork in the ground, we need to first remove the top layer of soil, which you see we've already done. Because they grow underneath the surface of the soil, we want to be careful not to stab into our potatoes and damage them. So I need to be able to see where they are. So I'm going to now put my fork in and gently loosen, wiggle, and lift up so that I can pull those potatoes out of the ground. Here we go. Now, you can see they kind of pop out. And here is a really nice sweet potato. They don't come much nicer than that. Now, we might expect a sweet potato to be light yellow or orange or pink or even this kind of salmon color. So you might be wondering, why is it ugly and discolored here? Well, this is really just from the mulch that we use, which is called leaf mold. It's broken down, shredded leaves, and that dyes the skin brown. It's perfectly safe and healthy and edible. We'll clean them, we'll peel them, and they'll look ready to eat. Now, there aren't just these big ones, there's also these side roots, which we sometimes call laterals or seconds. Now, let me show you. They can grow as far away as 12 inches from where we originally plant them. You can kind of see one sneaking out here. Let me see if I can get this one out too. And sure enough, another really nice looking sweet potato. Man, that looks delicious. So, after we've gone through and we've brought these sweet potatoes out of the ground, we're not quite done yet. First, they need to dry. Because they grow underneath the ground, their skin is kind of damp and a little bit wet. So what we do is we set them out in the sun. This time of year, it's nice and dry with hot sun. And for about 10 days, we let them dry in the sun, keeping them out of the rain. And in that time, the skin begins to harden. And that's what helps make these sweet potatoes so easy and long storing, meaning they last for a long time. Sweet potatoes that are harvested this time of year, they can last well into February, 4 to 6 months from now even. Sweet potatoes are a wonderful addition to any garden. They're delicious, they're nutritious, and they're easy to grow. So I'd really like to encourage you to try sweet potatoes and find out for yourself.
Hi Kelly, how was your field trip today?
It was awesome. We explored our gardens, learning about composting by looking at our wiggly worms. We planted a seed, harvested some sweet potatoes, and we even met a chicken in the hen house.
That sounds like so much fun.
It was great. Nicole, can you explain to us why farms like ours are so important to the community?
Absolutely. So Gorman Heritage Farm is just one of over 75,000 farms in the state of Ohio. Now, things have changed in Ohio since this farm started in 1835, but agriculture is really important in our state. There's over 14 million acres that are farms. 90% of those farms are owned by families and individuals, and 1 in 7 jobs in our state are related to food and farming. So farming has a really big impact here. Here at Gorman Heritage Farm, we can make an impact by welcoming people here to learn and have experiences about food, where food comes from. They can have a field trip like you all did today. The mission of Gorman Heritage Farm is to cultivate a healthy community through farm-based education and experiences about food, sustainable agriculture, and the natural world. And having a healthy community is bigger than just a community that isn't sick. People are healthier when they know where their food comes from. They can make healthy choices at the market or the supermarket. They can learn how to grow some of their own food, even if just in a flower pot or a bucket. And when they can be spending time outdoors in nature, that makes a healthy community. Small farms like ours are important places. People can learn and grow here. we can build that healthy soil, and we're so glad that you got to spend some time with us today. Thank you so much for coming to join us for a field trip program at Gorman Heritage Farm with Ohio Learns 360. Bye!
Ohio Learns 360 is made possible through a partnership of the Ohio PBS stations and the Ohio Department of Education, offering free PBS resources for out-of-school programs and serving students in grades K through 5. Learn more at ohiolearns360.org.